Okay, I wasn't sure how I wanted to start this video. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a part two. I've just been messing with my hair. It's just something I threw together. You know, the blue is part of a wig that I took apart. It was just way too hot to wear, and I took it apart and kept most of it, and that's what, you know, the bangs don't look right, and the more I mess with it, the stranger it looks. I'm just like, what the hell I'm always doing, you know, weird creative stuff and just strange looks. And after a while, I just like, well, I'll just go with it, you know, whatever. I don't care. But, I didn't make this video to talk about my hair, my little wig pieces and stuff that I have. So I guess I'll go into, the poem I had published. You know, I'll go on and read that. That will be, you know, part one of the video. And then part two, I'll go on and, go into details about, you know, who the poem was for, you know, what happened, you know, just, you know, a sad story, you know, that happened to me in, you know, junior, high school, you know, that changed the way, you know, I see things, you know, that learned a lot about people, you know, picking up on stuff, you know, how to deal with my own, you know, my own emotions, my own kind of pain that I was feeling, due to a loss of a friend. But this is, a copy of a book, from National Library Poetry, Walk Through Paradise. This one I got on eBay. The original one I had, I lost in storage. I'll go through that details in the second video, but there was a picture of a lighthouse. It was like red and white. There was like, I think, some grass and some water and some rocks down here. But anyway, I wrote this poem when, I was in high school, you know. It's, of course, I wasn't married then, so it's under my maiden name, which is Acosta. It's titled There's No Telling. I wrote this probably, let me see, I'm thinking 93, 94, possibly 95. I know I was a freshman in high school when I wrote it, so I'll go on and read There's No Telling. Okay, let me see. I want to wake up and believe it's all a dream. At times like these, life is harder than it seems. Losing a loved one is something I've faced before, but when I lost you, it seemed to hurt a little more. Crying and wondering throughout the days, a basketball game you could no longer play. You seemed to like life, so why did you go? Is it because you didn't want to grow? You're a person that I'm going to forever miss. How was I supposed to know you was going to do this? God let you be born, so why did you take your life? You'll never finish school, have a family, or a wife. There are so many things you won't get to do. If I could, I'd give up my dreams and give them all to you. I don't think that's possible, so I can't. I've lost a grandma, a teacher, and my aunt. You were so tender and young, only 16. The age to me isn't very sweet. It's just as mean. Did you really mean it? I guess I'll never know. I'll see you again. Did you really mean it? I guess I'll never know. To see you again, there's no telling where I would go. That's this one, top one right here. So yeah, I still got a few minutes on this video, so I'll go on and say that I wrote that poem for a friend of mine named James. He committed suicide. You know, back when I was in high school, you know, suicide and, you know, school shootings and all the violence that is going around in schools nowadays, it just wasn't a thing back then, you know, stuff like that just didn't happen, you know. And I know one time when I was in class, I noticed James wasn't there. Well, he really wasn't the best student. He didn't really care about his education. You know, most of the time he did, you know, not show up for class. You know, he was out under, you know, the bridge smoking, you know, or hanging out with his friends doing whatever, you know. But that day when he didn't show up, it just didn't seem right, you know. And then the next day he wasn't there, and the next day he wasn't there. And then it, the school announced that he had killed himself. And it was such a shock because I had never experienced anything like that before. I never had, a friend or a family or anyone, that I cared so much about, take their own life. And, from that, a bunch of rumors got started. The craziest one is that he had snuck into the gymnasium at night and hung himself from the basketball, basketball hoop, whatever. And of course, that was bullshit. It turns out that, he hung himself in his garage, his parents' house, where he lived. And he was bullied a lot. He was mixed races. His mom was white, his dad was black. He got picked on a lot for it, he would, I guess, he was quiet. He never talked, he did get in some fights every now and then. He would stand up, for, his family, and he was always being expelled, always being suspended, but he would always come back to school after a while. And he never really wanted to talk about his feelings, except for when he was pissed off. Yeah, he'd lash out, he'd start fights and he'd pick fights with people, but he never said that, never mentioned anything about, being suicidal. And from him, taking his life, the school it kind of went crazy. All of a sudden there was, counselors for us to talk to, and they was having, emergency, parent-teacher meetings, and some of the seniors had started making signs, of numbers to call, and suicide is not the answer. Reach out, talk to someone, and Mom and Dad, it was a shock to them, and Mom didn't want to talk to me at all. She didn't want to hear about the way I was feeling. She said that I was too young to be discussing such things, such situations was for adults and they wasn't for little girls in high school. So it was just, I really had no one to talk to. I didn't feel right about talking to the counselors at school because they didn't know me. My parents was the ones that knew me, and I didn't have anyone to go to. So from that, I'll go on and start the second video and go into some more things, and then that'll be it. So I'll see you on part 2.